Every animal that sees you and runs is carrying a scar, not a physical one, a genetic one, a piece of inherited biological memory, installed by your ancestors that says one thing and one thing only. That thing is dangerous. Do not engage. You didn't earn that fear by being strong. You earned it by being the most relentless, unpredictable, continent-clearing killing machine this planet has ever produced, and the animals know it. They've known it for 2 million years. Let's talk about what that actually means. Scientists have a name for what happens to an ecosystem when humans show up. They call it the landscape of fear. It's not a metaphor, it's a measurable, documented restructuring of animal behavior that happens the moment we enter a territory. Prey animals don't just react to us when we're standing in front of them, they reshape their entire lives around the possibility that we might be nearby. Where they eat, when they drink, which routes they travel, which powers they move, all of it gets recalibrated around a single variable: human presence. A deer doesn't think about this, a wolf doesn't run the calculation consciously, but the behavior is there, baked into their daily patterns, as automatic as breathing. The landscape of fear isn't something animals choose, it's something we installed in them, and to understand how, you have to go back a very long way. 2 million years ago, your ancestors were not impressive animals. They weren't fast, they weren't strong, they had no claws, no venom, no armor. Most large predators of the Pleistocene, the cave bear, the saber-tooth, the giant hyena, could have ended a human in seconds. On paper, Homo erectus was a disaster of a predator, but they had one thing that nothing else on the savannah had. They didn't stop: persistence hunting. The technique is exactly what it sounds like. Early humans would identify a target, a gazelle, a wildebeest, an antelope, and simply follow it, not sprint after it, follow it, at a steady jog, through the midday heat, for hours, sometimes the entire day. Most animals thermoregulate by panting. They have to stop moving to cool down. Humans sweat. We can run and cool ourselves simultaneously. We are the only endurance hunters on Earth. So the prey would sprint away, stop to pant, look back, see the same upright silhouette still coming at a medium pace, and sprint again, over and over, until it collapsed from heat exhaustion and couldn't get up. Think about what that looked like from the animal's perspective. A predator that couldn't be outrun, that didn't give up, that followed you across miles of open plain without showing any sign of fatigue or distraction. Not fast, not strong, just inevitable. The animals that ran from human-shaped silhouettes survived. The ones that didn't were eaten. Repeat that across 10,000 generations and you get something remarkable. You get fear coded into DNA. This is the part that most people never consider. The fear animals have of humans isn't a lesson each individual animal learns during its lifetime. It's inherited. It arrives pre-installed. A young deer that has never seen a human, never been hunted, never witnessed anything dangerous, will still freeze and bolt at the sight of an upright bipedal silhouette approaching at a steady pace. That's not learned behavior. That's a survival algorithm written into the genome over millions of years of selective pressure. The animals that carried a genetic predisposition to avoid humans survived and reproduced. The ones that didn't were removed from the gene pool with brutal efficiency. Your ancestors didn't just hunt animals, they edited them. Every species that shares this planet with you today has been shaped at a genetic level by the fact that your lineage existed and kept hunting for an incomprehensible length of time. The animals aren't scared of you. They're scared of what you represent, a 2 million year legacy of relentless, effective, continent-spanning predation. That legacy lives in their cells. You carry the cause, they carry the scar. In 2016, researchers at the University of Western Ontario published a study that made a fairly blunt claim. Humans are the super predator, not in the casual sense, in the precise ecological sense. We are feared by other predators more than they fear each other. To test this, they played audio recordings to animals in the wild, not lion roars, not wolf howls, just humans talking. Casual conversation, the kind of thing you'd hear at a bus stop. Mountain lions fled at more than twice the rate they fled from other large predators. Bobcats, deer, skunks, possums, all of them bolted harder and faster from the sound of human voices than from anything else in the study. Some of the animals tested had no natural predators of their own. Apex animals, things that nothing else hunts, and they still ran from a recording of two people chatting. Let that sit for a moment. An apex predator, an animal that has no natural enemies, that sits at the top of its food chain, hears the sound of someone talking about their ton weekend and decides it is not worth the risk of staying. That is not a small thing. That is 2 million years of consequences playing out in real time. Here's what makes humans uniquely terrifying in the animal kingdom, beyond just the body count. We are unpredictable. Most predators follow patterns. A wolf hunts at dawn and dusk. A crocodile ambushes near water. A hawk works open fields in daylight. Prey animals have had millions of years to read these patterns, and knowing the pattern is what keeps them alive. Avoid the riverbank at certain hours. Stay out of the open at dawn. The pattern is the warning system. Humans have no pattern. We hunt in the morning and at midnight. We hunt alone and in groups of hundreds. We use spears, traps, poison, rifles, drones. We hunt things we eat and things we don't eat. We hunt for food and for sport and for territory and sometimes for no reason prey animals can possibly comprehend. We hunt on land and in water and from aircraft. There is no behavioral model an animal can build for us. We are a variable they cannot solve, and in the mathematics of survival, an unsolvable variable gets treated as a maximum threat, always, because the cost of being wrong is death. The safest assumption is permanent avoidance, so that's what evolved. But you've seen the pigeons, city pigeons that would rather die than move out of your path, raccoons that make direct eye contact while eating your garbage, seagulls that will take food from your hand and maintain eye contact the entire time, specifically to assert dominance. So what's happening there? Habituation. When animals are repeatedly exposed to humans without experiencing negative consequences, the fear response gets downgraded. The brain runs a very simple cost-benefit calculation. This thing keeps appearing, nothing bad happens, I am wasting energy being afraid of it. Threat level reduced. City pigeons have lived alongside humans for so long that the fear has essentially been deselected. There's no survival advantage in running from something that throws bread at you. Crows have gone even further. They don't just tolerate humans, they've developed what can only be described as individual human surveillance. They recognize specific faces, remember which people have wronged them, recruit other crows, and teach their young which humans are dangerous. Crows didn't lose their weariness, they upgraded it into something more precise. The key point here is what habituation reveals. The fear was never about us specifically. It was always about what we do. Stop doing it long enough and the fear dissolves, sometimes within just a few generations. Which means the fear is not a factory setting. It's installed through history, and history can be rewritten. The cleanest proof of this comes from places where humans were never present. When Charles Darwin arrived in the Galápagos Islands in the 1830s, he was baffled. The animals simply didn't move. He wrote in his journal about sitting next to birds that showed no alarm response whatsoever. He described pushing marine iguanas into the sea and watching them calmly swim back and sit beside him again. Blue-footed boobies, giant tortoises, sea lions, none of them fled, none of them cared. The same thing happens in Antarctica. Penguins have essentially zero fear of humans. They walk up to researchers, inspect their equipment, occasionally attempt to steal things. Scientists doing fieldwork have reported penguins that are genuinely fascinated by camera lenses and will not leave them alone. And in marine reserves, where fishing has been banned for decades, fish populations begin losing their fear of divers. Fish in protected zones actively swim toward humans. Fish in adjacent unprotected zones flee. The conclusion is stark. Fear of humans is not preloaded. It is earned through consistent, sustained predation. And when that predation stops, the fear goes with it. Sometimes within 2 or 3 generations. The fear isn't about what we are. It's a record of what we did. Here's where this stops being about individual animals and becomes something much larger. The fear we generate doesn't just affect the animals we interact with directly, it cascades through entire ecosystems. When wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park in 1995, something unexpected happened. The deer population didn't just shrink, it changed behavior. Deer stopped grazing in open valleys, they avoided riverbanks, they moved differently. And because deer stopped overgrazing those areas, vegetation recovered. Rivers changed course because bank erosion slowed. Trees grew back. Bird species returned. Fish populations rebounded because the streams became healthier. None of that was caused by wolves killing deer. It was caused by wolves making deer afraid. The fear itself, not the predation, was driving the ecosystem. Scientists call this a trophic cascade, and humans produce a version of it everywhere we go, at a scale no other species on Earth can match. A 2018 study published in Science found that mammals across 6 continents had become significantly more nocturnal in response to human activity. Animals that were historically active during the day were shifting to nighttime movement, not because of habitat destruction, not because of direct hunting, but simply because humans were present nearby. And humans produce a version of it everywhere we go, at a scale no other species on Earth can match. A 2018 study published in Science found that mammals across 6 continents had become significantly more nocturnal in response to human activity. Animals that were historically active during the day were shifting to nighttime movement, not because of habitat destruction, not because of direct hunting, but simply because humans were present nearby. Our mere existence was rewiring the daily schedule of wildlife across the entire planet. We are not just predators, we are a global ecological signal, and the signal is, reorganize around me. There's one more layer to this that operates below the level of sight or sound entirely. You smell wrong. Not in a personal hygiene sense, in a deep, biological, alien to the ecosystem sense. To a bear, whose sense of smell is roughly 7 times stronger than a bloodhound's, or a bee that can detect scent from nearly 2 miles away under the right conditions, you are broadcasting an enormous and deeply strange chemical signal at all times. You smell like synthetic fabrics, like processed food, like soap, shampoo, sunscreen, and insect repellent, a cocktail of artificial compounds that has no analog anywhere in the natural world. Beneath all of that, you smell like a primate, which to most predators, doesn't match any prey category they've evolved to pursue. Researchers placed scent strips soaked in human sweat near wildlife cameras. The reduction in animal activity was comparable to strips soaked in mountain lion urine. Human odor alone, just the passive scent of a person existing in a landscape, is processed by wildlife as a threat signal equivalent to an apex predator marking territory. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to move or make noise or be visible. Just being there, giving off the ordinary chemical signature of being human, is enough to clear the area. The obvious question: if animals are so hardwired to avoid us, why do some of them attack? Almost always, the answer is the same: something broke. The Tsavo Lions, 2 male lions that killed somewhere between 35 and 135 railway workers in Kenya in 1898 over the course of 9 months, were not representative of lion behavior. Both were maneless, which is atypical. One had severe dental damage that made its natural prey nearly impossible to hunt. These were not normal lions, operating under normal conditions. They were animals pushed into desperation by injury, whose inherited caution had been overridden by starvation. The Champawat Tiger, responsible for an estimated 436 deaths in India and Nepal in the early 1900s, was later found by hunter Jim Corbett to have had 2 canine teeth, shattered by a gunshot at some earlier point. It could no longer hunt its natural prey. The only prey consistently available and physically manageable was human. The pattern repeats across virtually every documented case of large predator attacks on humans. Something changed the calculation: an injury, starvation, habitat destruction, removing natural prey, or habituation, animals that have been fed by humans, or that associate human presence with food rather than danger, can lose their inherited awareness with disturbing speed. The rule holds almost universally when the ecosystem is intact and the predator is healthy. The cost of engaging with a human is too high. The inherited signal says stay away, and they do. Here is the part that should sit with you. The fear is accurate. That squirrel bolting when you walk through the park isn't being irrational. That deer freezing at the sight of you isn't malfunctioning. They are making the statistically correct assessment of the situation. Humans have caused the extinction of hundreds of species. We've hunted populations to collapse. We've transformed or destroyed more than half of all natural habitat on Earth. We've altered the global climate. The animals that fear us are, from an actuarial standpoint, right to do so. And here's the final layer. We've been so effective at generating that fear, so thorough, so persistent, so continent-spanning in our impact, that it now operates entirely without our direct involvement. We change the behavior of every predator layer in an ecosystem just by being present. We rewrite the daily schedules of mammals across 6 continents without hunting a single one of them. The fear we built over 2 million years radiates outward through the living world like a signal, reshaping ecosystems we've never even entered. One species, one inherited fear, rippling across the entire planet. So next time a bird explodes out of a tree when you walk underneath it, or a deer vanishes into the tree line before you even registered it was there, that's not a random animal being skittish. That's 2 million years of your ancestors looking back at you, encode in the nervous system of a creature that never met you, never saw what your kind is capable of, but carries the memory of it anyway. You didn't do anything. You were just eating a granola bar. But the signal you're broadcasting is ancient, and everything in the forest already knows what it means. Now here's what I want you to think about. If 2 million years of hunting was enough to rewrite the genetics of every large large predator on Earth, what else did that much time rewrite? What other biological echoes are your ancestors still sending through your own body, right now, that you've never stopped to question? That's exactly what this channel is about, and if that question is sitting in the back of your head the way I think it is, subscribe, because the next video goes somewhere you didn't expect.